Bonjour, hello everyone, and welcome to the 8th edition of TEDxYouth at EEB3. We are thrilled to have you here for an excellent lineup of speakers.
Absolutely. I'm Tom, and together with Leonie, we'll be your hosts for this period of exploring the theme to infinity and beyond.
TEDx is a non-profit organization that aims to share ideas worth spreading. We'll be filming these talks and publishing them on the official TEDx YouTube account, so feel free to go check them out later.
So, who are we listening to next?
Let's dive right in and get started.
First, we'll be hearing from Konstantinos Drosinakis, a Greek S5 student.
Konstantinos is passionate for music, and he'll be demonstrating his point by playing the piano.
His enthusiasm for melodies and music theory has led him to discover how music can be infinite. I wonder how that works.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Please welcome Konstantinos to the stage.
Music, a daily asset of our lives. But how could we define music? Well, most people today would probably say that it is a word referring to all the songs that have been written throughout the years. And they're kind of right. It does refer to songs as well. However, in my view, music is a form of art expressed through sound, either from instruments or from voices. The origins of music date back to at least 40,000 BC, when the Paleolithic played flutes made out of bones. And since then, music has evolved to how we know it today. Imagine a world without music. Is it even possible? Now, I'm sure that a lot of you like listening to music, and that's great. But music's much more than that, and you probably don't realize how much it appears in our lives. We listen to the radio, we listen to songs on Spotify, but even our alarm can be considered a form of music. Or the sound the closing doors of a metro make. Or when someone rings a doorbell in their house. People don't realize enough how much music is present in their daily lives. Some people may also play an instrument as a hobby, like I play the piano. There are tons of different possibilities, and a world without music would be basically unimaginable. So, I thought, how could we relate music with infinity? Something that came to my mind was that we could create a melody and make it go on forever. It sounds kind of crazy, doesn't it? But if you were to do something like that, how could we even do it? And is it even humanly possible? First, we need to start from the basics. We would create a series of notes that would make sense with each other. What do I mean? We cannot choose any notes at random. They need to sound pleasant to the human ear. So, for example, these notes do not sound pleasant at all to us. This is called a dissonance, and we want to avoid this. You might have even said, this guy does not know how to play the piano. What is he even doing here? On the contrary, this chord is much better, and it's more pleasant to us. So this is called a major chord, and this is what we use in a lot of our songs today. Listen to the difference. The notes clash. Much better. So let's say that I create a melody using this criterion. These notes. Now, with these notes, I can create a rhythm. There are infinite combinations that one can do. Some notes can be shorter, others can be longer, or they can all be of the same value. This could go on for infinity on its own, but if we kept doing the same rhythms on, it would become a bit too repetitive. So let's try experimenting with different rhythms. Next, we need to decide a speed for a melody. It can range from slow to fast. However, we don't want it to be too slow because it'll be boring, let's say, but nor too fast because it'll be overwhelming. We can also accelerate and decelerate as it goes on. So let's try this. Let's decide on the dynamics of the melody now. But what are dynamics? Dynamics is a word we use to refer to how loud or how soft we are to play something. We could, of course, keep our melody all in one dynamic, but it'll sound boring, let's be honest. So something that is more interesting is to vary the dynamics throughout our melody. So let's see. What we can also do is reproduce this melody in terms of instrumentation. There's a wide range of musical and tuned instruments, ranging from keyboard instruments to the piano, to bowed instruments like the violin, or even woodwind instruments like the flute, and brass instruments like the trumpet. So we could take this melody that was originally written on the piano and adapt it for other instruments. Playing this on the drums is impossible pitch-wise, but what we could, for example, do is take the rhythm of this melody and play it on the drums. So using everything that I have said so far, let's create a stable melody that we can use as a reference in the future. Great. We have officially composed a melody, but we're not done just yet. In fact, we're still at the very beginning. So we have our stable melody now. This could, on its own, go on for infinity as a monologue, let's say. We can add more to it, though. Something that you might have noticed is that on the piano, there are different pedals that we use with our feet, each of which has its own purpose. And the one I'd like to focus on is the right pedal. We use this generally to help with linking notes and adding color to our melody. But it's a technique on its own, and if we kept it down for the whole melody, it creates some sort of dissonance, which we don't want. So let's use it appropriately. Take a look at this. If I play a chord and keep the pedal down, you will notice that the sound keeps going and going. Doesn't stop. Until I eventually lift the pedal. This is why it's called the sustain pedal. It literally sustains the sound when we play something. So if we kept it down for the entirety of this chord, then it would still go on forever, even if it slowly vanishes, just that it's in lower volumes. And this could play a big role in keeping it sounding. Next, what we can do is change the pitch of our melody. So each note of our melody corresponds to this scale. And listen to this scale now. So you might notice that this scale is higher than this one. So for each note of our melody, we can move it down a few steps. So 4 steps, same here. And eventually we'll get this. Same notes, just different pitch. We could also try adding a layer of harmony to our melody. So we will combine different notes to create a much deeper and more rounded sound. You might remember in the beginning I said that we are to avoid dissonances, so we don't want this. So let's do it appropriately. We could do this what note, one chord, for example, which is also a bit too much in my opinion. Let's make it a bit simpler. We could keep infinitely reproducing our melodies with these parameters that I've just mentioned, and maybe even others that I haven't. Let's do something more fun, and that is adding a layer of voices. What is this guy saying? voices on the piano, it should be a joke. Well, no, not literally human voices, but rather independent musical lines. So what can we do with these musical lines? Well, something that we can do is create a series of canons based on a melody. So creating canons means that these voices will mimic each other, either rhythmically or even pitch-wise. So as a first canon, let's take our melody and play on the top voice. And at the same time, play it from right to left, so backwards. So it'll sound like this. If we want to play this as a whole, we would first want the voices to present themselves. So the top voice will start, and then the lower voice will join in. It'll keep going, and eventually we will finish the canon only with the lower chord that is playing. So let's try and execute this. I have an idea. How about we take our melody and play it upside down? Well, sure. We can also play it backwards here. So our melody will go from left to right and right to left at the same time. So it would sound, the top voice would sound like this. And the lower voice. And as a whole, it would sound something like this. How about we combine these two canons? Well, combining them while keeping an eye out for dissonances would sound like this. So we could even add even more melodies to this to create even more canons and add infinite voices. Let's take a look at another example, this time by Johann Sebastian Bach. Now, Bach was considered to be the most modern composer of his era, the Baroque era, and has inspired millions of people and hundreds of composers, including me. And it requires a huge amount of theory, skill, counterpoint to compose something like Goldberg Variations, which his example comes from. And I want to show you something now from this. I will play the aria for you, which is the first extract that you will hear. And I want you to listen carefully to the bass notes. If you had listened correctly, you would have listened to these notes. There are 8 in total. So what Bach does with these 8 notes is he transforms them into 14 canons. Imagine how much of a genius Bach was, transforming 8 notes into an infinite number of possibilities. So what he does essentially is he takes these notes, he turns them into a melody, and then with that melody, he turns it upside down. He adds layers of voices. He mirrors it. He makes it longer and shorter. It's honestly mind-blowing. And next, what I want to say is that, what I said before actually, is that we can reproduce melodies in terms of instrumentation. Well, this case is no exception. There have been arrangements from these 8 notes with combining different instruments such as violin, cello, viola da gamba, or harpsichord playing the basso continuo all at the same time. These have not been arranged by Bach himself, but you get the idea. And there could be infinite combinations. Next, if we go to the original manuscript, you might notice that the canons are written in repeat. Well, this usually means repeating something from a specific point, a specific section. Well, in Bach's canons, in various recordings and performances, they have been repeated more than once. So this could essentially mean that there is no limit on playing these canons, repeating these canons, and they could go on for infinity. So here's the game changer. If we go to the bottom of a page on your manuscript, you will see something like a scribble. But it is not just a scribble, it has been identified as an etc. Who would have thought that Bach would leave a piece like this unfinished? But did he actually leave it unfinished? Some people think that he might have wanted to write more canons to it. Others think that he might have ran out of space on the paper, like he could be doing it all day. But etc. means and so forth. So what Bach might want to do here is give the performers their chance to keep creating canons on their own with the same motives that he used. And this etc. probably means that there could be infinite combinations that could go on for infinity. And this piece of music was probably intended to go on forever. So basically, Bach's message is to never stop composing pieces, because it is, in theory, a form of art that never ends. And this could inspire many people to compose melodies. So in theory, infinite melodies with infinite combinations going on for infinity and beyond. Thank you very much.